There's a survey on who wore it best. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
That's a good one. I like that. All right. So, Mr. City Clerk, is there any request to speak?
We have a second presentation, recognition of the Fountain Valley firefighters.
Hold on. Oh, that's right. That's right there. My apology. Okay, yes, we do have a, that's why I have my colleague here. Vice Mayor. All right, we have a recognitions for the Fountain Valley firefighters. Presentations by Bill McQuaid, our fire chief.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I thought maybe you weren't calling me up because I didn't dress for the party. So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to come up here today and do a short presentation to recognize the efforts of what our people, not just our people in our fire department here, but the fire departments across Southern California. On January 7th, everybody is aware of the Palisades and the Eden fire that broke out that day and the disasters that occurred. It was a significant event. I guess before I go too far, we do have a few members that are with us today that were on those fires. I'm going to ask them to come up here with me. So we have Captain Fasulo, Engineer Cook, and Firefighter Voss. Why don't you guys come up here? So January 7th, early that morning, we had a significant event, and I'm not going to get into the details of the weather event that occurred because I'd be up here for a long time, but it was really a perfect storm that day. We had 70 to 80 mile an hour sustained winds that were blowing. We had gusts that were exceeding 100 miles an hour, and that was blowing across hills that had large fuel beds with extremely low fuel moistures that haven't seen any rain through a hot summer well into our winter, and it was literally the perfect storm that aligned. That morning, when those fires broke out, we knew really early on that this was going to be a significant event, and it was going to take a significant amount of resources to deal with it. We've been doing these fires and running these fires in the fire department for many years. I know that these fires brought a real focus on wildland fires and the disaster. But I've been running these fires for over 30 years, and it was going on well before me. And our fire department responds on these fires from the Mexican border all the way up to the Oregon border, and we do it all summer long, and now the fire seasons have extended well into our winter season. So we're really doing this year round, and when we're not running on fires, we're running on mudslides or earthquakes or any of these other large-scale events. So really we're focusing on one event, but it's really important, and what I want to share with the community is our fire department isn't just local. We do this throughout the state, and we do this year-round on a regular basis, and it's part of what we do as an agency. It isn't just, so I invited these three members up here because these guys were on the front line on those fires that day. But what's important to point out is our resources that respond on these fires, the guys on the front line are fighting those fires, but the impact of that event goes far beyond just those crews that roll out that door. We sent our Engine 31 crew, we sent our OES crew out there. But they're out there for 2 weeks on the front line. Sometimes we've had resources dedicated up to 2 months, and we'll rotate crews out every 2 weeks and relieve them out there. But what's happening here on the backside is these guys are fighting the fires here and taking care of the emergencies here and making sure that the 911 calls are met every single time it comes in. And they don't go home either. So they're here for 5 days, get a day off. Then they're here for 4 days and get a day off, and then here for 2 or 3 or 4 days after that. So they're paying a price here and a big impact too. It's not just the guys that roll out, it's the entire organization. Then it takes the next step. What's really important is our fire family isn't just the guys here in the station. It's also their wives and their kids and their significant others that don't get to see these guys for 2 weeks because they came to work for 2 days, and then they get to send them a text and say, I'm going on a wildland fire, I won't be home for 2 weeks. And now their wife's at home dealing with the kids and everything else. So it's important for me to share that component of this so people really get the scope of what's entailed when we respond on these fires. So my dad, when he was around, he used to say to me when I was a young fireman, I'd come home and he'd say, how was your shift? I'd say, we were up 2-3 times last night, it was busy. And he would always say, a slow day for the fire department is a good day for the community. And I used to think about that, and I was thinking, I think he's talking about the old joke, you just play cards all day at the fire station. I'm here to tell you there is no slow day at the fire station, but what he was really saying was he was referring to these events. This is not a slow day for the fire department, and this is a disaster for the community. So a slow day for the fire department truly is a good day for the community, because a bad day is really a major disaster. One other thing I wanted to talk about, when these guys responded on this fire that day, our Engine 31 crew was one of the first outside resources to get on the front lines of that fire. And the reason why that happened is because here in our Southern California region, we really work really well together, sharing resources in our mutual aid. We have agreements for mutual aid, and there's agreements up and down the state on how we share resources with OES and respond and dispatch resources. But that particular morning, the LA fire chiefs knew they had a major disaster on their hand. They were going to lose homes, they were going to lose lives, and this was happening really fast. They didn't have the luxury of saying, well, let's start ordering resources, go through the process, make sure that there's a financial component to it, and we'll get them in 12 or 24 hours. They needed them right now. So they sent out a message to the Orange County Fire Chiefs, and we all communicate very closely, and they said, can you send us resources immediately? Mutual aid, we can't guarantee funding, but we need fire trucks because we're losing people and we're losing houses. And we said, absolutely. We loaded up our people and they rolled out. And they were on some of the first people on the front line because we did that. So we made good choices, we did good things, we saved lives, we saved property. And that's part of the bigger picture, and that's really our why and our greater purpose. So we wanted to make sure that we met that. I got a little bit of a presentation here that I'm going to roll through. A couple quick slides. So the Palisades fire, the guys that were out there on our Engine 31 crew, we had Captain Waterworth, Engineer Sorensen, our firefighter, paramedic, Dolly, and Voss. Voss is up here with us tonight. These guys were some of the first guys on that Palisades fire. Some of the statistics for that fire. There was over 8,000 structures that were damaged or completely destroyed, 12 civilian fatalities, 1 firefighter injury. When you look at that little video that's looping on here, I've been on so many of these fires and wind-driven fires, and it's hard to explain to people that environment. The video really doesn't do it justice. What I always say is when you're in there, you're getting hit by thousands of embers, the wind's blowing, the noise, the fire, everything's going on. The way I explain it to people is I say it's kind of like the air is on fire. You're in this environment and it literally feels like the air is on fire around you, and that's what you're trying to deal with. So sometimes in these environments, it's almost impossible to save everything. You just have to triage and deal with what you can. So when you look to the right on there and you see that picture, when we respond out and we go out on the initial actions of a fire, that's what it looks like. The houses are burning, the structures are burning, and we're on the pavement and we're fighting fires. But the fire goes through stages, and you're not just fighting structure fires the entire time. So you see the guys on the left, and those guys they're swinging hand tools, they're climbing hills, they're laying hose lines. It goes through these phases of the hard work that they're on, and they go out on that IA and they're working for 2 to 3 days straight without rest, without relief, without proper meals, any of those things as they fight these fires. Then you get into the next days where you get a day off and you're on for 24 hours, but you're out on the line and you're climbing hills, you're carrying heavy hose packs, you're laying thousands of feet of hose out there, and you're working hard the whole time. So it's an exhausting and encompassing experience for all of them. All right, this is a quick video that is going to play here in a second. Captain Waterworth, he's amazing. And every day I seemed like I came to work, I would get another video of Captain Waterworth because he was doing some kind of live news feed somewhere for local news, international news, wherever it was. And I have to say, he really represented our fire department, his crew, our community, and everyone around it himself, like to the highest level. I was so impressed every time I would see him. So this particular clip was like over 10 minutes of live TV that they had him on there talking, which is like a lifetime in news feeds. But we've got just a couple minutes of him, and he does a real good job of explaining kind of what they were doing.
Hi, good morning. Yes, we love our firefighters, and as you know, that so many of them have answered the call out here. We're off of PCH, right near the coast, and Captain Brent Waterworth joins me now from Fountain Valley Fire. You were one of the first 5 teams to come out here from Fountain Valley, and you're coming off of a 24-hour shift. Unfortunately, you have the misfortune of ending your day by talking to me. But let me ask you this: what has the last 24 hours been like for you?
So at this point in the incident, we have enough resources to where we're on 24-hour work cycles. So we will come to base at 0700 in the morning and then be assigned out to division. Our strike team's been consistently working in Division Charlie since the incident happened.
Yeah.
So we meet up with our team and we go out and do the work for the day, whatever that might be, for 24 hours. Report back to base, which is where we're headed now,
Yep.
for a rest day. And then if they continue to need us for the incident, we'll be back tomorrow at 0700 to find out when and where.
So it's 24 hours of continuous work. And where do you sleep when you're actually out there in the field?
So we don't sleep on the 24 hours. We're just patrolling or whatever your mission happens to be. Our mission has downgraded from severely intense to less intense as the incidents improve in conditions.
Those first couple of days when you first came out here, what was it like for you?
It was very intense. We were on the initial response for mutual aid from Orange County, and we came in and our job was what we call IA, or initial attack.
Yeah.
And we didn't know how big this fire was. We didn't know how many structures were involved, and there was minimal resources. We went straight into the Palisades, and this company and our team of 5 engines and 2 battalion chiefs fought fire for 3 days before we were relieved. So no sleeping. We didn't really have food. We just kind of grinded it for 3 days and did what we could.
Yeah, I mean, how did you do all that work and not drop? Was it just adrenaline, you would say?
A lot of adrenaline, a lot of just sticking with our teams and kind of supporting each other and getting through it. There were, a lot of really low moments, witnessing the devastation, being physically exhausted, but the community needed us. That's what we do. That is our job, and we just had to step up.
I mean, I know you're going to say that it's your job, right? But there's an emotional toll that takes place. Now that you've had maybe a couple of hours to process what's just happened, what goes through your mind right now?
It's completely devastating. I mean, our hearts go out to the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles and anyone who was affected by this horrible disaster. It's a very difficult thing to watch, and let alone be that close in it, and we just wish everybody the best of luck.
Hi, good morning.
All right, so that was Brent represented, and I thought he did a great job. And the great thing about Brent is he's the first one to tell you that he did a great job. So, just a couple pictures from the Palisades fire. We'll move on to the Eden fire, because our guys weren't just on one fire. We had the Palisades fire break out, and then a handful of hours later that same day, we had the Eden fire break out. And we sent our second crew out of Station 2 on our OES rig. And everybody that's ever seen the green fire truck that runs around the state, that's what we call our OES rig. That's part of a state mission. They provide us the fire truck, and we send it anywhere up and down the state for any major disaster and support that need, and that's what we did here today. On that fire, we had Captain Fasulo here with us today, Engineer Cook, and firefighter paramedics Flood and Kearns, and everybody's got to love that mustache on Jeff Kearns, too, by the way. So that was the crew that was on that fire. Some of the statistics on the Eden fire, it was over 10,000 structures on that fire were either damaged or destroyed. You take these two fires together, It was almost 19,000 structures that were damaged or destroyed. Let me put that into perspective for you. We have about 19,000 residential units here in the city of Fountain Valley. That would be every single one of our residential units in the city were damaged or destroyed. That's a significant event. They had 17 fatalities, 9 firefighters injured throughout the event, and you guys were there for the full 2 weeks? Yeah. So here's a couple pictures from the Eden fire. Here's a short video that you're going to see kind of the landscape afterwards. So I talked a little bit about the fire and the embers blowing. It's kind of hard to explain to people what it's like to be in an environment like this when you're a fireman and you're driving down a street and literally every single home that you see is on fire on both sides of the street, in front of you and behind you. Or later on in the event, at about this stage, when you drive down the street and every home is taken to the ground and all you see is fireplaces and addresses on the curb. It's really gut-wrenching because you know every one of those homes were somebody's special place. It's where their lives were, where they raised their kids, where they had all of their memorable moments, and they're gone. And you do your best, because that's what we do, to save and protect these, but it's really apocalyptic. You look around and it's kind of hard to find the words to explain because you can't imagine ever seeing it, and there it is before you. Here's a couple other pictures from that, and really that is what I'm trying to describe to you. And this is the last slide that I have, but I'd just like to end by saying I appreciate the few minutes that I had up here to recognize not just the efforts of the guys that were there, but the guys that were covering the stations and making sure that we were meeting our 911 calls here, and that their families at home that were carrying the load. So thank you.
Fire Chief, thank you for the presentations. Actually, I visited one of the fires area last week, and there was one thing that I've noticed is, although the fire's out, but the smell it's in the air. Even though the fire's out, you can smell rubber, you can smell chemical in the air. So I can imagine what the firefighter go through the smoke when the fire's on. So I want to echo that as well. And what's got me surprised, I saw metal was melting on the ground as well. I think I saw a few in here, but there was, so if metal was melting, so I can imagine the condition of the heat that was out there. It must be, super high for the metal to melt. So I want to thank you for the presentations. Any councilman would like to make a comment?
I'm in awe of you guys. You guys really do a tremendous job. We don't thank you enough for all you do every single day. I always say that, most of you guys know my cousin was a captain in the fire department. People ask me, well, why didn't you go into the fire department? And I'm not brave enough, I could not do what you guys do. And again, I just wanted to thank you. I was just curious, like the air tank, how did you guys have enough air to breathe while you were there? I just can't even imagine what you went through, but my appreciation's there for you always, so just thank you.
Thank you all so very much. We really appreciate you.
All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead. And we're going to move along to the next items.